Honourable Nanaia Mahuta.
Mr Speaker, I want to join with other Kiwis today to welcome the All Blacks home and to celebrate their success, to give them accolades because their success is our success. To the team, the management, the coach and their whānau, welcome home. And it's great because we can show that as a small country, we punch well above our weight on the world stage. But we need to come back home where the rubber hits the road. Mr Speaker, there is a sobering reality here in New Zealand that the government cannot get away from. Growing inequality and poverty is hurting the great majority of New Zealanders. Now, I've been listening very carefully to the debate, and it goes like this. It's as if National's sitting in front of a room full, let's say 99% of New Zealanders, and saying to them, in 2008, we gave you a promissory note to be able to purchase a home, but it's not valid until 2016, or maybe 2019. Well, hang on, just trust us, things will get better. Well, Mr Speaker, many New Zealanders have heard that message, and 7 years after National have been sitting on the Treasury benches, they're finding that that promissory note may well become null and void. Inequality and poverty is increasing in New Zealand, and unless we recognise the detrimental effects that it is having in our communities on various population groups, then we are dooming the next generation to some very significant challenges, and that should not happen in a country like ours. The challenge is real and it must be addressed, because it goes like this. There are more vulnerable children, several living in poverty, many of them in benefit-dependent households, and that doesn't look like it's getting better. It is getting worse. And at the coalface, families feel the struggle in very real ways. Going to the budget advisory services, going to food banks, because there are increasing fixed costs that are becoming a huge burden on families. Let's look at the Māori population and the electorate I represent. And across our country, the median Māori household income is $28,000. Well, after you take out rent and power and food, costs for the kids to go to school, costs to get to and from essential services if there's no public service network, the struggle is real. 12.6% of Māori in the labour force are unemployed. It is really difficult. When you go to faith-based services, social services, they will tell you now the profile of the demographic coming to seek assistance are actually the working poor. What is this, that we're now having gradients of poverty? This is New Zealand and things need to change. Mr Speaker, last year only 59% of Māori school leavers completed NCEA Level 2, notwithstanding the Minister of Education's ambition to have 85% of students reaching NCEA Level 2, it's not being achieved. And if we can't make a fundamental difference to improve the learning outcomes for our young people, how will this country ever benefit and gain the economic opportunities that the government talk about? There is a significant challenge there. But this is where it gets real. Truancy remains high. There are high levels of transience in pockets of New Zealand because of housing inaffordability. There are numbers of families living in multiple households where people simply try and pull their limited resources together to get by. Is that a better opportunity for children or a worse one? I ask you. People will quickly say it's actually a worse situation than ever before. We need to do better. The whole thing about housing affordability isn't just a matter for Auckland. In fact, what you will find when you go out into the regions and even into small, semi-rural towns, the encroachment of the Auckland effect artificially inflates housing prices everywhere. Aucklanders will buy houses anywhere else in the country except in Auckland to lump some of their ability to invest out in the regions. Makes it unaffordable for people living in small communities. Now, I listened to the Minister of Education during question time, and she made a very simple statement in response to questions by saying we are targeting our resource, the education resource, to meet those most at risk. Mr Speaker, that is not happening. The government has no plan to lift the opportunities for children and young people. Income inequality has not gotten better, it's gotten worse. But if we really want to ensure that the prosperity of this country transforms opportunities for everybody, we've got to address this issue now. It can't wait.
The time for this debate has expired. I call on Government Orders of the Day, numbers 11 to 25.
Crimes Amendment Bill, third reading, Anti-Money Laundering